I am reading from the book of Revelation, chapter 7, beginning with verse 9. After this I looked, and there was a great multitude that no one could count on, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, robed in white, with palm branches in their hands. They cried out loud with a single voice, saying, "Salvation belongs to our God, who is seated on the throne, and to the Lamb." And all the angels stood around the throne and around the elders and the four living creatures. And they fell on their faces before the throne and worshiped God, saying, "Amen. Blessed and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be to our God forever and ever. Amen."
I want to ask you a question. Do you treat God the way Bob Bailey treated his furnace? Well, if you're a little confused, that's okay. Bob Bailey was my grandfather. He grew up born in the middle of the Depression. Well, most of those folks that remember any of that are gone now. He was in Nebraska, so he lived through the Dust Bowl, served in World War II in the Pacific Theater, saw his share of hardship. And as it was with a lot of folks from that generation, they could squeeze a penny until it pleaded for mercy. And Grandpa was the same. And so as I had the privilege of serving LaFountain United Methodist Church while my grandfather was attending there about 20 years ago, there was a conversation that happened about this time every year between him and Maxine. And I would typically observe it during prayer group. As we were sitting there, Maxine would turn to Bob and say, "Well, Bob, it's November and I haven't turned my furnace on yet. Have you?" His response was usually, "Well, I hadn't even thought about it yet, Maxine." And so it would go until reason meant that if you didn't turn it on, the pipes would freeze. And so eventually one of them would cave. It was always Maxine. She hadn't lived through quite the same stuff that Grandpa did, so he was bound and determined he was going to win every year. And this is a literal exchange I heard. "Well, Bob, did you turn your heat on?" "No." "Well, I was afraid the pipes would freeze, so I turned my heat on." "Well, that's why I put electrical tape on my pipes." So do you treat God the way Bob Bailey treated his furnace? It's only there if you really, really need it. Now, let me be clear. God was always there with Bob Bailey ever since he invited Christ into his heart as a young man with his blushing bride, Lenore. And every day he would sit, and often I got the privilege of walking across the street to go have coffee with Grandpa in the mornings while I served that little church. And he'd be sitting there with his Bible in his lap because he didn't treat God the way he treated his furnace. And that's why when he lost Lee, my grandmother, he wept and grieved like anybody else would, but he wasn't destroyed because he had God with him. He had a hope of where she was and where he one day would be and is now. Our passage is a picture of heaven as everyone is discovering or realizing the truth of that hope. It's this beautiful imagery of concentric circles with God at the center and Christ at his right hand. And around it, though it's not mentioned here, are the 24 elders representing the two covenants. It's the church and it's the tribes. It is the old covenant and the new covenant, worshiping God. And around them, the four beasts. Have you ever wondered what the four beasts are? It's creation. It's an imagery of creation from Hebrew literature. And then around them, we see a great multitude of some of the tribes, of some of the languages? No, of all tribes and nations and languages. All of creation, all of created order, the faithful and the nations all around, realizing the goodness of God. And they worship him. The word used is eulogio, which is the Greek word from which we derive the word eulogy. Are you familiar with what a eulogy is? It's that message the family member gives at a funeral to remember a name well. Here it means worship, to venerate, to lift up. I want to encourage you to not treat your relationship with God the way you might be tempted to treat your furnace. Who's turned their furnace on? Most of us. This is a conversation we have in the Barton household in remembrance, in eulogy of Grandpa Bailey every year. When we turn on that furnace, we remember him, and we remember him well. Are you remembering God well, daily? Not just in the storm, not just when you're afraid that everything's going to freeze up on you, but continually. Because there is a strength there that is represented by the lights lit here today. There's a strength in knowing that we can grieve and grieve well, shed lots of tears, have heartache, but hold on to hope, because the one we praise is worthy of praise. He's worthy of blessing and glory and honor and wisdom and thanksgiving and power and might forever and ever.